LIFEFORM Chairs has been a leading manufacturer in the office chair industry for over 45 years. With 5 generations of experience as a family-run company, starting with leather upholstery, customer service and quality production is our goal. The heirloom quality can be seen and felt in our products. Providing the world's most customizable office chairs, we can accommodate any user. Our products have been proudly handcrafted in Calgary, Canada since 1976. Here we are going to talk about the adjustments for the Ultimate Executive high back and mid back. They're the same on both for the deluxe version, and this is using the knee tilt mechanism. There's a couple adjustments that we'll want to make before really sitting down and getting into the rest of them and adjusting the chair to ourselves or to the user. The first adjustment that we'll make is going to be the seat depth or the seat slider adjustment. Now it's important to remember the best way to adjust that seat depth is when you're up out of the chair. It will take the pressure off and just ensure that the longevity of that mechanism with those interlocking teeth. So as we pull this lever up, we can move that seat either out or further in. Now, the goal here is to have that seat depth adjusted. So as the user sits with our hips as far back in the chair as possible, we have just about 2 or 3 fingers from the back of our leg to the edge of the seat. That's gonna just reduce the most pressure off the sit bones, off of our thighs and rear, and allow for the most pressure relief. The next adjustment that we'll make is gonna be the height adjustment. Now the height adjustment is gonna be the middle of these 3 paddles here. The height adjustment is the next one we make because we don't wanna have to keep getting up and down. We wanna set that height and then we can move on to the rest of the adjustments. So as we raise this paddle up, the chair will move up, and it's good practice to raise that chair as higher up than might be needed, and we can lower it down. So the goal here is to have our hips just slightly above our knees. That's gonna open up the hips and promote better circulation throughout. So ideally we wanna have our feet flat on the floor, or better yet, if we can use a footrest or utilize a footrest. Regardless of the height of the user, this helps get that angle of the knee open, promoting better circulation and blood flow throughout as well. This also helps us keep our hips further back into the chair. Moving on to the next adjustment that we'll make, and I do this in a particular order because with the interconnectivity of these adjustments, as we make changes, one might affect the next. So the next adjustment that we're gonna make is the next paddle over. In fact, it's the furthest paddle to the back of the chair. This is gonna allow us to adjust the angle of the backrest separately from the seat. As we pull this paddle up, that backrest is spring assisted, so it makes it easier for when we're sitting in the chair to force ourselves into a more upright posture, or likewise open up that angle to a more relaxed 110-degree angle or so. There's studies that show that sitting in a slightly open recline angle is gonna help take more pressure off the vertebrae or the intervertebral discs. So while 90 degrees and upright is completely fine, it's a completely safe working posture, we can improve by opening up that angle just a little bit. Moving on, we have the backrest adjustment. So this is gonna be the height of the backrest, which works based off of a ratchet system. So there's no buttons or levers to release this. Just by raising the backrest up allows us to adjust the height. Now to reset the backrest down to its lowest position, we want to go all the way up to the top. And as we lower it, you want to make sure that you hear a click. That's what's going to reset, and we have 7 clicks for adjustability. So the goal here is to utilize and get that lumbar support just about above the belt line. Now, for the depth of the lumbar support, we have the Shukra adjustable lumbar. Small lever here. Now this doesn't work as a pump or doesn't rotate all the way around. We have a minimum and we have a maximum. And this is again adjusting that depth to fill in the lumbar. Now, as we move over, we have the height adjustment to our arms. So with this small tab on the side here, we can squeeze along with the arm pad and it allows us to adjust the height. The ideal height for when we're sitting and working is with our elbows falling naturally to our side We don't want to have that arm pad putting too much pressure, because the risk when it's too high is we end up accommodating with our shoulders based on the contact stress through our elbows. When we have that armrest too low, we'll tend to reach for the armrest and accommodate with our shoulders. So ideally, when I'm wearing long sleeves here, if I were to pull my arm from the sleeve, it should be able to fall off the armrest easily. That's just a sign of not having too much pressure and not having it too low. The arms can also rotate and articulate in, so it keeps our elbows closer to our body as we're tasking. The arm pad itself has that high density pressure relieving memory foam. We do have the ability to adjust the width of these arms. So there's a star-shaped hand screw underneath that attaches the arm bracket to the mechanism. Just by loosening that hand screw, we can adjust for the width of the arms. Next adjustment that we have is going to be the tilt feature. So this paddle is the only one that we have that we can leave up to be unlocked or push down to lock us into place. So as we pull this paddle up, the chair is now unlocked and we're able to rock or float freely. Now there's a small lever towards the front here that goes hand in hand with the tilt lock. This small lever works as an on or off switch for the forward tilt. As we're sitting upright and we maybe have some additional pressure here, this small lever should not move. So in order to unlock or release that adjustment, we want to lean back a little bit just beyond flat, and we can move this towards the back. And moving that towards the back is engaging or turning on the forward tilt, increasing our range of motion. To turn that off, we want to lean back beyond flat, and just slightly moving it towards the front of the chair now stops us back at neutral. That adjustment should be as easy to make with just a finger. So if it's any pushback or any force, we want to make sure that we're leaning back to take that pressure off. Now, lastly, we have your tension adjustment. The tension adjustment is going to be the cone-shaped knob towards the base of the chair. You'll see a plus sign, and rotating it towards the floor as you're sitting in the chair will increase the tension regarding our recline or our tilt. Rotating that cone-shaped knob towards us will loosen the tension, make it easier for us to rock back and recline. Something else important to note is when we want to adjust the tension, when we want to make changes, we need to ensure that the tilt paddle is in its up and unlocked position. We can have that paddle down, the chair can be locked, we can rotate that knob, but it won't adjust the tension. We need to ensure that that paddle is up and unlocked, and now we can make changes. Now that we have the tension set specifically to the user's height, weight, and preference, we can actually lock this infinite recline into any position. So utilizing that tilt lock, just by pushing down on that paddle, is going to allow us to lock it into place. So if we're conferencing, have a long phone call, we can lock here, and in this reclined position, we're actually taking more pressure off the lumbar spine or the lower back. You'll notice as we pull this paddle up, it's spring assisted. So as we're in a deeper recline, it's much easier for the user to just quickly lock the chair into place. Now, given that spring assist, it is a little bit firmer. You do need to pull up on that paddle to unlock it and release. So it's important to familiarize yourself with these adjustments because we can have the most customizable office chair, the most ergonomic office chair in the world. But if we don't know how to adjust it to ourselves, we're not going to maximize the benefits for the pressure relief and the longevity. Just like if you have the world's fanciest sports car, but you don't know how to drive, it's not going to do you much good. So we need to learn how to drive the chair. And it's important to make subtle adjustments throughout the day. As we're sitting for 8 or 10 or longer hours, these small micro adjustments, my favorite is to adjust this angle of the backrest. While we can force ourselves with a more upright posture, eventually our body will still get fatigued. So it's great to open up this angle of the backrest, and these micro adjustments will change the circulation, change our posture enough to continue on for the longer hours. While having the chair adjusted to you is great, it's still important to get up, stretch, walk shortly, to make those postural changes. And this concludes the adjustments for the Ultimate Executive High Back and Mid Back with the knee tilt mechanism on the deluxe models. In closing, please remember to reference your user manual for more information on the adjustments, as well as warranty information and exclusions that may apply to your warranty. You can also find your care instructions for the material of your chair and regular maintenance. We want to make sure you get the most out of your LifeForm chair. For any additional questions, contact your dealer or visit us at lifeformchairs.com.